The Bible Treasury. A monthly magazine of papers on scriptural subjects. Article 30, Volume 8, 1870, and 1871. Numbers. 1871, 193. This book is as distinctly devoted to the progress of Israel through the wilderness, before they entered Canaan, as Exodus with their redemption from Egypt for God to dwell in their midst, and Leviticus with the provision for their approach to God, whose meeting place was the appointed tent of the congregation or tabernacle. The people are numbered, with the exception of the Levites, who were to be for tabernacle service and so exempted from this, the census of Israel from 20 years old and upward, all the males able to go to war, Numbers 1, they are then, Numbers 2, duly arranged according to Jehovah's will, every one by his own standard, with their family ensign about the tabernacle but at a distance from it, on the east Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, on the west Ephraim, Benjamin, Manasseh, on the south Reuben, Simeon, and Gad, and on the north Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. And thus they were respectively to set forth on their march, the camp of Judah first, then of Reuben, then the tabernacle with the camp of the Levites, next the camp of Ephraim, and lastly of Dan, in full tale as before. But the Levites were not numbered among the children of Israel, as Jehovah commanded Moses. After the house of Aaron are described, the tribe of Levi are brought near and given to Aaron and his sons for sanctuary service, substituted for the firstborn of Israel, and numbered apart, every male from a month upward, with their several charges assigned. Numbers 4 enters into details of Levite work, after a new numbering from 30 years of age, the Kohathites carrying the vessels duly covered, the Gershonites the hangings, etc., and the Merarites the boards. In Numbers 5 we hear of the purifying of the camp, and the test of jealousy, as in Numbers 6 the special separation of the Nazarite. Next, in chapter 7 the presence of the chiefs of Israel are recounted, part of which was devoted to aiding the Gershonites and Merarites. Chapter 8 opens with the sanctuary lights in Aaron's charge, and the Levites consecrated from 25 years of age. In chapter 9 we see the provision of grace where circumstances hindered an Israelites taking the Passover, with the cloud directing their rest or march, to which the silver trumpets, Numbers 10, are joined for purposes more varied. Then, Numbers 10 verse 11, they start on their journey according to the movement of the cloud, but with a strong appeal from Moses and Hobab to guide them, and suited formulas for the march and the halt. In chapter 11 we see the signs of unbelief as to the way, and then in Miriam and Aaron, Numbers 12, as well as the spies, Numbers 13, and then as to the land, Numbers 14, next offerings of sweet savour, and a heave offering prescribed for the land, with provisions for sins of ignorance and judgment of presumptuous sins, and a riband of blue to put in remembrance, Numbers 15, followed by the rebellion of Korah against the rights of Jehovah in Moses and Aaron, Numbers 16, and the value of the high priest proved not then only but by Jehovah's choice expressed in his rod alone, once dead, now living and fruit-bearing. Numbers 17, then the Levites are joined to Aaron and his sons, that is, ministry to priesthood, with Aaron's charge over heave offerings, wave offerings, and first fruits, even the Levites being bound to offer a tithe of the tithes given them by Israel. Numbers 18, next the ordinance of the red heifer for purifying from the defilements of the wilderness, Numbers 19, the failure of Moses and Aaron at Meribah, the opposition of Edom, and death of Aaron, Numbers 20, the defeat of the Canaanite king, the fiery serpents met by the serpent of brass, the wells dug by the prince's staves, and Sihon and Og smitten. Numbers 21, then comes the effort of the enemy through a false prophet to frustrate Israel's entrance into Canaan, but the curse is turned into a blessing and God through the hireling affirms his right to separate and justify his people, to render them fair and refreshed and glorious on the earth, judging their enemies. Numbers 22 to 24. Corruption succeeded better, but Phinehas vindicated God in Israel, Numbers 25. The people are numbered afresh for going into the land, Numbers 26. The title of the daughters of Zelophehad is made good, Numbers 27. The law of oblation follows, with the new moons and feasts, Numbers 28 and Numbers 29. Then vows when valid or not, Numbers 30. Next on the defeat of the Midianites, the regulation of war and spoil, Numbers 31. Then, on the desire of 2.5 tribes to enjoy the land taken on the east of Jordan, the condition laid down of joining in the putting down of the Canaanites, Numbers 32, the rehearsal of their journeys, Numbers 33, the borders of the promised land, and those charged with dividing it, Numbers 34, the cities of the Levites and among them those for refuge, Numbers 35, and the order insisted on for such as had their title to inheritance allowed. Numbers 36.